say is start with eating brown rice. Because, you know, we eat so much rice. Half of our plate, or the bukid of our plate, is rice. So if we already answer that, let's say if that's 50, in a plate, a round plate, 50% is rice, then you're already answering 50% of the problem. So I always like to begin with the rice. And what better way than to eat our rice from the rice terraces, you know? Why eat the rice that comes from Thailand, that's sprayed with pesticide almost on a daily basis in the bodegas, and give the help and assistance to the Thai farmers who are doing so well, when our tribal farmers in the terraces needs that help? On top of which, our rice from the terraces is considered in Europe by a professor who studied the makeup of the rice as one of the best rice in the world nutritionally. So that should be the first, change the rice. The second thing I would say would be to remove pork. We're such heavy pork eaters. And even though there are organic pork that you can buy, or the native pigs, have it as a treat, because there is a worm that grows in the pork that even if you cook it well, it still lives. And that worm creates a lot of problems in our bodies. So that would be the other change. And the next change would be our seasoning of food. You know, we tend to put too much salt, and the salt that we use is, you know, the iodized salt. And iodized salt is actually concentrated sodium, because what they do with the sea salt, the natural salt, is they remove all the minerals. They just leave the sodium, which concentrates because of the process. And then, because they think that the rest of the minerals are impurities and madumi. And then because naalis yung iodine, which if you don't eat it, you'll get that goiter problem, which happens usually in the mountain people, huh? But because if they remove all the iodine in our salt, that would develop. So they have to iodize it. But the iodizing process is not natural. Again, it's a synthesized iodine. So avoid the salt. Avoid also the white sugar. As a number 3, the seasonings that are white. So white sugar, white salt is even bleached. And anything white, by the way, is bleached. So I remind people that, would you get Clorox, no? Would you get Clorox? No, that's the brand. What's the name of the chlorine? Would you get chlorine and get 1 teaspoon and put it in your coffee? Will you get 1 teaspoon and put it in your juice? Yet every time you put 1 teaspoon of white sugar, you're putting a bit of chlorine there, because those are bleached. And then every time you put that iodized salt, which is also bleached, you're still putting the chlorine. So in a day, how much chlorine do you ingest that you don't even know about? That's not even written in the label. White flour is the same. Anything white should be suspect. So that's my third point. And then fourth, you know, we drink and eat way too much sugar. We are a sugar-producing country, yes. We should eat our own products, yes, because I say that for the number 1 thing of rice. But we should also understand what sugar can do to our bodies. And excess eating and consumption of sugar can create so many problems. And especially when it's processed so white, even more problems. So avoid that sugar. If you must have sugar, by the way, we now produce a fantastic sugar. That's cocoa sugar. It's so mahal, yes, very mahal. But if you consider the problems of diabetes and all those medications needed, and that you won't need it if you take that sugar, then I think it's cheap. Yes, actually you can. In the beginning, honestly, 15 years ago, when I started the market, I knew that it would be limited to the more elite budget people. That's why I did it in Makati. But at the same time, I was surprised to learn later, about 3 years later, that a lot of the people who were buying were educated, working class people that already were suffering from some ailment and felt that really the best answer was to eat organic. So a lot of them still come to my market and buy what they need. They just, you know, they're very careful with how they buy it. Some of them have been creative and created like buying, like a community. Like there's one family of 3 sisters. They buy all their needs together. So then, because of the volume of what they buy, they can get better prices from the farmers. No? And I tell the farmers, give them naman a bigger discount because their volume is like pang restaurant. And then some naman, there are some communities that come, and then siguro like some that even the baliches, they'll come and they say, we're buying for all our neighbors na because they don't have a car, so kami na lang bibili. So those opportunities exist. And we're very open to that because I always tell my farmers that, one comment of one of my customers in the supermarket was, Mara, namamatay na nga kami sa commercial vegetables and all the pesticide, pero nahihimatay naman kami sa presyo ng organic. And I have long recognized that. In fact, sometimes some of my farmers, that's where I'm like a dictator, because I tell them, look, the market prices of this gulay is like this. Your prices na wholesale na, to me, is higher pa than that. So paano na? What will the consumer buy? What I want kasi is that, the worldwide, the price difference is between 30 to 50%. But now, given this whole global changes and economic crisis and chemical prices going so extremely high, in the developed countries, it's coming out that the organic is becoming competitive na to the commercial, conventional vegetables. Here, around Christmas time, I try to match up already with yung malapit na kami sa presyo of commercial. But I'm not yet achieving that. But because the farmers naman, they feel they have to increase so much their price. So I always tone them down and tell them, look, if those farmers na being abused na nga by the buyers and the trader can achieve this price, then all I'm asking is make it no more than 50% higher. Because if we're 50% higher than the commercial price, no one will buy na. So the supermarkets, my prices are really low, the lowest I can do in the supermarket. I'm medyo nalulugi nga, as they say, but in the markets naman, we're about 30% cheaper. So I suggest for people to go there. But I'm trying also to dictate those lower prices. But given nga this time, it's very difficult. And part of my business expansion is to create a capital fund for the purchases. Because, in the supermarket, that's another thing, by the way, that in the supermarket buying of vegetables, we really have a really lousy system in the country where, and even restaurants, the system is you deliver all the vegetables, and usually it's 30 days, mabilis na yon, and then it can expand to 90 to 120 days before you get payment. So, can you imagine, that's like one crop for a farmer. How will they survive, no? So, that's part of the thing I want to do, is to have a capital fund for them also. Especially like now, I could give them a special, like a little money and tell them, okay, at the next crop, I'll just deduct it na lang from what you deliver, So at least, meron silang konsuelo, di ba?